Well, I want to thank everybody for joining today's Code Ninjas conference call. My name is Marty Flanagan. I am the Vice President of Franchising here with Code Ninjas, and I host these calls each and every week to help give some better insight, to be able to give maybe even catch you up a little bit on what's happening with Code Ninjas. A lot of times, individuals that have been in our system for a while like to listen in on these calls and get caught up. Our current franchisees also like to listen in on these calls and just kind of continue to hear messages in terms of questions and in terms of what's happening with Code Ninjas, as well as just being able to be interactive with these calls. So how these calls work is at the first 10, 15 minutes, I'm going to kind of catch you up a little bit about where we're headed with Code Ninjas and what's happening, a little bit of our history. And then after that, I open it up to a Q&A. And the Q&A section is completely interactive to where you virtually raise your hand, and then I'm able to unmute you, and you're able to ask your question. I will be able to answer any question that I'm legally allowed to be able to answer in regards to Code Ninjas. These calls typically have 20 to 30, maybe sometimes even 50 attendees, and the length of the call really just is up to yourself and the questions that come in. I'll just keep going with answering the questions. That is pretty much my favorite part of my day on Fridays. I've been doing these calls for 2.5 years. I really enjoy answering your questions. And being that I've only missed 5 of these calls in 2.5 years, and they usually last about an hour, those questions seem to really be helpful for yourself and for prospects in the future. So feel free to get a pen and paper, and anything I go over today, feel free to jump on and ask a call or ask a question when that time comes up. Or if I missed something and you want clarity on something, please feel free to ask a question. If you have not heard from one of my team members, I have 4 total team members that focus on the franchise development and business development with Code Ninjas. If somebody on my team has not reached out to you yet, feel free to email me, Marty, M-A-R-T-Y, at codeninjas.com, and I'll make sure I connect you with one of my team members. So, Code Ninjas by the numbers, what's happening, what's going on? So we launched as a brand officially in 2017, of March of 2017. Fast forward 2 years to March of 2019, we had 102 locations open and more than 470 locations, or 460 locations, sold. That is a huge accomplishment because only 2% of franchise systems, according to IFA, have had 100 locations open in their first 24 months of offering. So it's pretty incredible and pretty validating to see how our franchisees have really excelled Code Ninjas as a brand to that 2 percentile. Pretty exciting. Now we're looking at entering into July here, and we have currently in the U.S., Canada, and the U.K., but in the U.S. and Canada, we have 400 and I think as of this morning, 78 locations sold. And looking at probably reaching 480, 490 by the end of next week, which is really exciting. So in the UK now, we also have launched, and I host a conference call for the UK every day at 8 o'clock UK time, and I do that call just like I do here in the US and Canada. So all that growth, all that wonderful stuff, really, how did all that come about? Well, in October of 2016, we started building Code Ninjas as a brand, as a franchise. So we built Code Ninjas from day one. Bert, Sensipon, David Graham, and myself, Bert, built Code Ninjas from day one to be a franchise. Everything that we think through, everything that our process for scaling our business, everything about Code Ninjas has been set up to support our franchisees, market for our franchisees, build this as a franchise. And really before that even, David Graham owned a school. David Graham is the CEO and founder of Code Ninjas. He owned a school that taught adults how to code. And as he was there for 4.5 years running that school that operated in 18 different cities, he was asked on a weekly basis by his students about the younger generation. What can we get? What is out there to get the younger generation involved in learning more of the value of coding, programming, and where to go from there? So as that question kept coming up, he continued to focus. Well, he sold that school to the Wozniak Group, and then he was able to really focus in on more about this younger generation learning how to code. And that just continued to intrigue him as he looked at the marketplace, having two boys himself, he was able to put himself into that parent position and say, okay, what is out there for kids today to learn how to code? And there's multiple problems out there that we were facing in terms of this younger generation. And we can go over a couple of those things. But there's been multiple problems with curriculum, which we'll touch on a little bit on how we solve that problem. And there was just a real lack of opportunity to have continuous practice of the skills and abilities that make a great coder. So David, being an entrepreneur, being a programmer and developer for more than 25 years, went to work thousands of hours, obviously a big investment financially, to develop Code Ninja's curriculum, to develop Code Ninja as a brand, and really make this something that we can bring this to families in a non-intimidating way and show them the value of their son or their daughter learning how to code and the value of that in communities that would typically never have this. We're opening in communities like Rapid City, South Dakota. We're opening in cities like Fargo, North Dakota. We're opening in small towns, which we currently are in Hanover, Pennsylvania. These communities, these kids would never have this type of opportunity to really dig deep and to really develop their critical thinking skills, problem-solving skills, and those other qualities that make a great coder. So that was all under development. So in October of 2016, as Bert, myself, and David really started to develop who we are, we officially launched in March of 2017. But there was a lot of work that went into that. From support, for example. Franchise support is the backbone in every great franchise. Does that mean it's perfect with Code Ninjas? No, because it can never be perfect. But we strive to continue to push material out to our franchisees in terms of communication, like Code Ninja University, like our podcasts, like our streaming videos. We have built-in collaboration tools that allow our franchisees to connect immediately with each other all over the world. So they're not just isolated trying to figure things out themselves. Everything from our marketing, everything from our newsletters, like I said, our weekly conference calls that we do internally, our NinjaCon conference, which is going to be in about 2 weeks, where we all get together. We have great learning sessions and have great advances and kind of update and go through at the conference, which is a fantastic fun time about building more collaboration, more community. Our very first location that was open as a franchise location, they are still owners and operators of their Code Ninjas, but also now we have brought one of them aboard and actually is a Code Ninja employee. If it doesn't tell you how important our franchisees are to you, that does. Words can't always describe it, but actions can. And having our very first open location franchisee be now a Code Ninjas team member in terms of the corporate office, that's pretty exciting, getting that ground insight, not just based off franchisee feedback, but also now as an employee as well, to really sharpen the system for our franchisees. So to really go into one other part here is our curriculum. And I take an approach of our curriculum. In some cases, if you listen to these calls before, you kind of know how I go through the curriculum. And just to change a little bit, there was a lot of problems in terms of what was offered on the market out there for the younger generation. Some of the problems were there was no cumulative curriculum. There was no LMS, learning management system, that tested proficiency. So there was a lot of problems out there. So when you look at and hear the Code Ninjas curriculum on this first, we have 6 different categories of opportunities for families to get involved. This first one was the problem solver on the market today. This first one filled the gap of what on the marketplace of what was not happening. And so this first one is going to be your number one revenue source as well. And that is called our belt program, our drop-in program. That curriculum exists. It has 9 different belts. With inside each belt is a learned set of skills and concepts. And at the end of each belt, our students have to show their proficiency of the skills and concepts they've learned with inside that belt by building a game. Once they show their proficiency, they're able to move on to the next belt. Every belt works with the other. So everything is cumulative learning. They're all intertwined. It's all compound learning. So, and at the end of each belt, there's that LMS, that learning management system, which we call our game development platform. That game development platform The LMS doesn't exist on the market for kids in coding today, so we had to build our own. And that game development platform allows our kids to show their proficiency in the skills and concepts that they're learning with inside each belt and all the prior belts to be able to progress and move forward. So they're building games that show their proficiency, and it's testing them, if you want to say it in so many ways. This curriculum is 90% proprietary and exclusive to Code Ninjas. This curriculum takes 3 to 4 years for our students to accomplish if they're coming 1 to 2 hours per week. This curriculum is a flexible learning system. A flexible learning system allows the students to come in at their convenience. So they're going to be coming in 1 to 2 hours a week at their convenience. It's not a classroom. It's not a lecture. They don't have to sign up for a time. There's not start times in terms of like you have to be here at 4. They can show up at 4:15. They can show up at 5:05. They can show up at 6:45. Whatever your open hours are for the drop-in program, they're able to show up, go through their curriculum that day, their session that day, and whatever that might be is based on their textbooks and where they're at in the system. This curriculum also has an exclusive robotics program built into it. It has proprietary textbooks that are a part of it as well. This curriculum lives on our platform in the cloud and is accessed through our dashboard. So when our students walk in, they're going to scan their wristband. When they scan their wristband, that unlocks a security measure that triggers that to allow them to access the curriculum from inside of the dojo, so from inside your Code Ninjas. So that curriculum itself, like I said, had a lot of solutions to it. Being it's a convenient factor, they can show up with their convenience. It's not an appointed time, which is what the market had out there today, which was a classroom setting, like a camp or a workshop. This also allows them to go very deep into the programs, learning how to code, development. We actually work with 3 different technologies, technically 4, but we spend the majority of our time in 3 different technologies, which is JavaScript. They're doing the syntax. They're learning the syntax of JavaScript. In the second belt alone, they're typing in about 1,100 lines of code, and it's not just cut and paste or click, drag, and drop. They're actually learning the syntax. Then they're going to spend about a year in Lua and about a year in C and about C#, about a year in C#. So they're learning that syntax. They're not just going through drag and dropping, cutting and pasting. They're actually learning how to think laterally. They're also really focused on problem solving, critical thinking, time management, collaboration, leadership. All these underlying skills that make a great coder is what they are focused on and what they are learning. That is one opportunity for families to get involved. When a family comes in, this drop-in program, like I said, is a self-paced but not self-taught program. So they're going to be learning at their individualized basis. So when they're going through and if they face a problem that they cannot solve, they're going to raise their hand. A code sensei is going to come work with them one-on-one, individualized learning, and help them solve that problem so they can continue to move on to the next part of the lesson. So they're continuing to be worked with on that individualized basis. They can collaborate with other students. That dashboard allows them to do that. And naturally, kids start to work more and more together throughout this curriculum and seeing what each other has done. This program has 3 different opportunities for families to get involved, not just one. They don't just come in the front door and say, I'll do the drop-in program. This is your only choice. You actually have multiple opportunities within inside there. Families to choose their level of involvement with that drop-in program. Parents pay a flat tuition rate per month. That flat tuition rate per month is not a fixed rate. We don't say what you have to charge, but we do give you a range. And what we find is our franchisees, being that we cultivate this collaboration with our franchisees, we have a very strong culture of collaboration. And we built those tools to allow that to happen from day one. So before you even find a location, you're already working with franchisees across the country, which is exciting because you can say, okay, where am I at? Help me through my successes, some of the pitfalls that you have. Let me work through those. We actually have a best of book That best of book is a hard copy. All of our franchisees are going to receive that at our conference in about 2 weeks. And I believe last time I looked at it, it was 62 pages long, which is really, really exciting because that's how much information franchisees gave us and our current franchisees saw as valuable, not just a bunch of words, which is really exciting. So there's a lot of action steps that you can take in there to make your Code Ninjas even better. Everybody does and will operate a little bit differently in terms of culture and execution of plans. So having as many options available to you to see which one fits your business acumen, which one fits your culture the best, you can incorporate. And that's why we have books like that. So that program itself, that's one opportunity. We also do camps and workshops. Camps and workshops are what you see in the market today. Everywhere you look today, camps and workshops is what you see. Nobody else has that cumulative learning program, that LMS, learning management system, which we call our game development platform. That doesn't exist anywhere that I've seen today, and I'm looking through the U.S., Canada, and the U.K., and so does my team. We are consistently looking on the market, who's doing what. Not only that, all 240 of our franchisees are always looking at the marketplace and looking at competition, whether it's an online service, whether it's going to be in the brick and mortar, whether what's happening in the school system. It doesn't matter. You have 240 franchisees that are also looking and examining the marketplace that give us feedback to continue to sharpen our curriculum and to always give us that competitive edge. And having 15 game curriculum developers and coders on staff that focus on our curriculum really gives us that competitive edge as well to make changes and pivot with the marketplace when needed. So we offer those camps and workshops. So we have 6 different opportunities, like I said. We have our drop-in program, like I just went over. We have camps. Camps are 5 days long, and they're either going to be for a half a day for 5 days or a full day for that full week. Then we also have workshops. Workshops are typically 1 to 3 days, half day and full day as well. And then we also have an after-school program, and we also do birthday parties. Then we have something called Parents' Night Out. We have multiple, being that we're a location, we have multiple opportunities for families to be engaged with Code Ninjas. But we also do allow our camp and workshop curriculum to go out into the marketplace. So you can take that and go out to the school systems. You can take that and go into your community and offer camps and workshops out there, which also then in turn drives traffic into your Code Ninjas to do that drop-in program, which is going to be where you really want to have that camps and workshops a feeder to your drop-in. That drop-in is all about fun. At Code Ninja, you've probably heard us say plenty of times in the past, you've read about it, but kids have fun, parents see results. Everything we do is game-based and fun. We have set this up. This curriculum roadmap is there. The agendas are there. The curriculum is there so that you are able to have your team deliver first and foremost an exceptional experience, and then second, teach and coach the Code Ninjas curriculum. By being able to deliver an exceptional experience, if you have a subpar curriculum, then you're delivering an exceptional experience, you're still going to keep your students. You could have the best curriculum in the world, which we feel we do, but you're going to have a subpar culture experience, you will lose students. So being able to provide a pathway that allows you to deliver an exceptional experience is our focus. We want to make sure that those kids are able to have fun all the time, and we have this, just so happens we have this world-class curriculum as well. So those are your 6 different currently, and we're obviously working on a couple of more that we're going to be releasing here shortly, opportunities, maybe expanding that age range a little bit, giving different opportunities in there for other generations, younger generations and older, to be able to dive into more learning how to code as well. But that curriculum and everything we do with Code Ninjas is between 7 and 14 years old currently. Our Code Sensei to student ratio is 8-to-1. A lot of our franchisees like to run 8-to-1. If you have a good Code Sensei, you probably can do 10-to-1, but typically is 8-to-1. So that is that first 15, 20 minutes for our kind of intro for Code Ninjas. If you've listened to these calls in the past, because they are all on YouTube, that she allows you to go back and listen to them, you know that this part coming up right now is going to be the Q&A section where you can virtually raise your hand and ask any questions you want, and I'll do my very best to answer them for you. And how that works is pretty simple. you hit *6, and when you hit *6, it'll virtually raise your hand. Now, if I did such a fantastic job and nobody has any questions, then we can round up the call early. We have almost 40 people on the line today. I'm sure somebody has some questions. But again, if you don't have any questions, then we can wind down the call early. If you do have questions, this is where you're going to hit *6. It'll virtually raise your hand. I'll be able to unmute you, and you'll be able to ask whatever question that is on your mind. Well, let's keep it focused on Code Ninjas if we could, please. All right. Awesome. So you have a question?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you loud and clear.
Perfect. My name is Manas. So I recently reached out to you guys to understand what the opportunity is about as a franchisee, and obviously I was directed here. So a couple of questions to you. One, and I don't know if this is the right forum or I should follow up later. Feel free to.
I'll let you know. I'll let you know. Yeah, go ahead, fire away.
Perfect. So the first question is, what kind of a skill set does the teacher require? One, what is a typical subscription or a typical number of I don't know how you refer to your customers, but number of customers at a center? I'm sure there is a wide spread. So I would like to know that. And third, what % of your franchisees are profitable at this time? And I'll take my answers of the air.
Sure. Well, pretty. So when it comes to anything financial, so franchising law prohibits me from sharing any financial details that is not revealed in our item 19 inside of our franchise disclosure document. So when it comes to the number of students or the percentage that are profitable, I can't answer, by franchising law in the U.S. and Canada, prohibits me from talking about anything that's not in the item 19 in the franchise disclosure document. So
just to clarify that,
yep.
I think the law prohibits identifying specific franchises. I don't believe the law prohibits from aggregating or sharing aggregate information.
If it's not in, I can tell you by fact, I've been in franchising for over 15 years, and I've literally onboarded more than 2,000 franchisees in my career. I can tell you that it's against the law to share any financial data, period, that's not in the franchise disclosure document item 19. So just so you're aware of that. If any franchise is sharing that and is outside the item 19, they are breaking franchising law in the U.S. and Canada and in Europe. When it comes to helping with that, knowing that we know we can't share certain information, we also provide an Excel pro forma that allows you to build all of that out in terms of the what your location could possibly be at for cost of doing business. So in franchising law, the interesting thing is I can help you with cost of business. So the great thing is I can actually help you down to the dollar of cost of business when it comes to a Code Ninjas. When we go into the profitability side of it or the revenue side of it, we can go a little ways because my item 19 does show some of that. So what you're going to want to do is connect with my team, get the franchise disclosure document in your hands, review that item 19, and then work with my team to be able to help you build out your Excel pro forma, which would then give you more data to actually look at. When it comes to number of students and averages, it actually, if you really dig into that law, it's any mathematical equation that allows you to come to a revenue number that is not listed in detail in our item 19, I cannot do. So that's why I built that Excel pro forma for you to use. And we built that to give to those who are in the process with us. Not a franchisee. We want to do that before you're a franchisee. As long as you have a viable and available market, you're a good fit for Code Ninjas, we will dive in with you and help you give you the best view possible of your opportunity. When it comes to skill set, being that we have the roadmap, we give you the agenda, we give you the training materials. Your code senseis are typically between 17 and 22 years old. They maybe have a robotics background, maybe a computer science background. This is what they want to do with their future. So these kids that are coming in to be a code sensei, their skill set is not a coder or a programmer. We tried that in the beginning because we obviously have a large network of coders and programmers. So we tried that in the beginning. It failed miserably. So we moved on to 17 to 22 years old with that robotic computer science background, and it knocked it out of the park for our kids. So that skill set, they're going to be doing in the Code Ninjas curriculum as well, right, up to where you have students, or maybe a little bit further ahead of where you have students, and they're going to be coaching and teaching that. We give agendas, training agendas. We give guidelines so you have a general direction way to go with them, but you do not have to hire coders or programmers for that. Okay. Hope I got to all those questions. Hi, you have a question? Hi, do you have a question?
Yeah.
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I got you.
Okay. My question is, how do you deal with competition? Like, I noticed that there's a lot of companies out there, and actually school systems, that are now offering coding classes to their students. And one particular company, ID Tech, they offer camps. They're week-long camps for like $850 to $900. And they operate out of most colleges and universities. They have 150 different locations right now, and they're backed by Silicon Valley. What is your strategy for dealing with that and staying viable against that kind of competition?
Sure. So did you also do some research to know how long ID Tech Camp has been out there doing their camps?
I'm sorry, what was the question again? How long?
Do you know how long ID Tech Camp has been operating out there and doing their camps for kids, by chance?
No, I didn't look at that, how long they've been operating. That just...
Close to 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Close to 10 years. Okay. Code Ninjas has been in operation for now 2.5 years. We're the largest kids coding franchise in the world. We have sustained our business right next to ID Tech camps and done very, very well. You know why? We do the same camps they do, but we charge a quarter of what they charge. $800 to $900 for a week. I'm not sure about your household, but I'll just look for the majority of America. $800 to $900 for a week-long camp. That's a lot. They're overpriced. They've been able to charge that because they can get it. That's one, right? So they're overpriced, and what they're offering is already what Code Ninja offers in a camp. But two, I'm not sure if you know much about foreign language or have tried to learn a foreign language. Think of trying to go and learn a foreign language in a week. And then basically you're going to go back next year and do another part of that. So you have to retain all that information over a period of a year without being able to even maintain it or even practice it. And then you're going to go back again next year. They do not have a cumulative curriculum. They do not have an ongoing curriculum that students are practicing on a weekly basis. They're going to a camp, getting a crash course, and a lot of our franchisees are parents of kids who went to ID Tech Camp. The number one group of owners we have are coders and programmers. The number two group of owners we have are teachers. So when you think of our operation of only operating now for 2.5 years and the tremendous success that we've had, that's going to show you right there that Code Ninjas is superior in terms of all of our offerings, because they're only doing camps for a week long. What if you don't have a week? What if you don't have that kind of money? What is your alternative? Going to the school system. If you go to on NBC about 2 months ago, Tim Cook was on NBC talking to the president about how Apple is delivering this curriculum out into the marketplace. And he mentioned a city that they are very successful in. Well, guess what city some of our most successful Code Ninjas are in? The exact same city they're successful in. Code Ninjas, it doesn't make a difference what's offered in the school system. What that does is that gives you more opportunity because they're getting a taste of what this is. When it says they're learning how to code, what they're learning in the public school system is drag and drop. What they're not digging in. There's not one school on the market today that does a real deep dive into coding and programming and development. What they do is they have a course here, a course there. Now,
Yeah,
there could be something popping out of there anytime, and that's fantastic if it does, because it really gives kids a taste. But bottom line, if you offer something in the school system, it has to meet something called universal curriculum standards. When it does that, you have to meet all these different levels of learning disabilities, and you're also learning in a classroom setting. It's not individualized. So we have Code Ninjas typically in markets that have a lot of private schools, in markets that have STEM-based schools, in markets that have competition, whether it be the Coder School, ID Tech Camp, whether it be somebody else doing, out of their garage, they're teaching kids robotics. It doesn't matter. Code Ninjas has been proven to be successful and is continuing to be by our growth into markets that have it in the school system. Being that we are a part of the free market, we can pivot and change our curriculum much faster than any school system. If you back up just a little bit and think of math, why is Mathnasium the number one kids tutoring franchise, single source tutoring franchise in the world? Right? Kumon is number one, but they're multi-source. But Mathnasium is a single source, and they teach math, where schools have been teaching math for hundreds of years, but yet Mathnasium is the number one kids tutoring franchise, single source tutoring franchise in the world. Kumon is number two. So you kind of look at, when you look at the free market itself, and you look at what's happening out there and what's been happening for the last how many years, Code Ninja is now coming into this market offering a very, very individualized learning program where the school systems will not be able to do because they need to teach by the masses, not by the individual. And that's why Mathnasium, Kumon, all these tutor doctors, all these other tutoring centers are thriving on the marketplace today, because the school system cannot keep up with parents' demand and want and need for their kids to learn more and to have the edge.
Okay, that's fair enough. I'm a coder too. I actually sell some of my software online and do all that. So I'm familiar with the school system and how inept they are and how inept their courses are, even at the baccalaureate level for programming. So, yeah, I understand that. But, it's I don't know how successful ID Tech camps have been, but, I mean, as far as the price goes, you said they're expensive, $849, $900 a week. Yeah, that's true.
But
you
said
checked
that.
out.
You said that. Yes.
Yeah, well, they are. I checked that out. But I checked out your site, and you charge $190 for 1 to 2 hours a week. So it's about comparable.
You're talking about no. So back up a little bit. We charge $200 for a week-long camp. $250 for a week-long camp. That's what ID Tech is charging $800 or $900 for. Our average cost for a drop-in student per month is $225 in the U.S. for a drop-in student, which gives them access to up to 8 hours per month inside of a Code Ninjas. It's ongoing. They're not learning what you would learn in a camp. They're learning more, and it's individualized. It's all about convenience. So you're talking about two completely different programs. Learning in a camp classroom setting, and again, the number one group of our owners are programmers and developers, right? So when you're looking at the system, you're looking at it from your mindset of your cognitive ability. But when you think of it as a kid, a 7, 8-year-old, getting them into a camp, and they're diving into that curriculum, they're having to keep up with a classroom. So it's completely different than giving them the opportunity of individualized learning.
Okay.
So it's a little bit, we're talking about two different learning environments, and we're talking about two different types of curriculum as well, where you have one type of curriculum which is about the masses, and one type of curriculum that's about individual. Camps are designed to introduce families into this world. They're designed to introduce kids into this world, where when you have the Code Ninjas ongoing, it's 3 to 4 years long. You could never do that in a camp setting.
Okay, now let me just ask one more question here, and then
one more, because I got about 15 people waiting to ask questions as well. So
okay.
One more question would be great.
$200 per week for camp is what you're saying. How many hours is that per week?
It's up to 2 hours per week. That we actually have a program where they can go up to 3 hours per week.
Okay. Okay, because
all right, so how about you dive? Let's do this. You're best to be diving in with my team, getting the franchise disclosure document, looking at the Excel spreadsheet, walking through that pro forma, looking at all the different opportunities so you can see the difference between a one-focused curriculum learning program versus one that has 6. So I think we need to do one-on-one. We go on and on with numbers right now. It's not necessarily what everybody wants to go through right now. So let's get individualized with you and walk through that pro forma one-on-one.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Hi, thanks for waiting. You have a question?
Yes, hello, my name is John. I would like to ask about a partnership with the nonprofit. We're exploring opportunities to expand our services to high-needs communities, and we're looking how franchising operates under nonprofit law on the franchise system.
Yeah, so we do have a nonprofit arm that you can, so I would say that reaching out to our corporate office, or you can send me an email, marty@codeninjas.com, and I can connect you to see if that makes sense on with our nonprofit.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Awesome, thank you. Hi, you have a question?
Yeah, hi. I was just curious, I have a few questions. To start, does Code Ninjas currently have some sort of support plan laid out in the case of economic downturn that could financially impact the franchisees?
Great question. So a couple things with that. So there's a yes and a no. The no is going to be like, do we give funding to our franchisees to stay in business? No. Do we give you the flexibility to adjust your pricing based on your economy and your market? Yes. Are we going to continue like we have, give you other opportunities to bring revenue into your code? Because that's really what it is giving you opportunities to drive revenue into your Code Ninjas. So a couple of things to show you what we've done. When we first started Code Ninjas, nothing could come outside of our center, and we offered 4 camps. We didn't do workshops. We offered 4 camps. We had our drop-in program, parents signed out, all the same different categories, but we didn't have anything leave inside of our center. The following year, same thing, same program, but we offered 6 camps instead of 4. Grew a little bit based on our franchisees' feedback. The following year, which is this year, we have 14 different camps that we offer inside of Code Ninjas and workshops. And now we allow you to take those camps and workshops out into the school system. So we know earlier when the gentleman was talking about ID Tech Camp, you can take the Code Ninjas curriculum and go to any university. That's all ID Tech Camp does. It just goes into university. It's not university's not doing it. They're just using the space. You can do that with Code Ninjas now. You can take our Code Ninjas workshop and camp-based curriculum and go out into the school system. Any school system, as long as it's approved and it's inside your market, you can go out into any school system and teach and coach the Code Ninjas camp-based curriculum. So we have added and continue to expand the opportunity for individuals to have access to Code Ninjas, whether it be in a school system, whether it be inside of our center, a variety of prices. Our franchisees asked for us to have a 1-hour-a-week program, so we offer that at a lower cost to the parent. So we offer more programs. We're just about to release 2 more programs that you can use your Code Ninjas for. We'll be releasing those 2 programs here in the coming weeks to our franchisees at our conference in 2 weeks, and then after that as well. So there'll be a couple more opportunities we're going to add for franchisees to drive revenue and have opportunities for families to get involved. Does that help?
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Actually, gave me another question.
Okay.
Will the training for, say I were to sign the franchise agreement and then I went to go take the training, would that also kind of in depth go over how to effectively execute the implementation of one of these programs?
Well, so you think of new franchisee training. We're teaching you how to use all the tools. And we even have a little bit of sales training that we go through as well. But it's really teaching you how to use the tools so that when you do go back, because it's done about 2 months before you open. So we have ongoing training, which will help you with that, which the question you just asked. And we have our new franchisee training, which is basically getting you up to date, up to speed with all of the tools you're going to need. Go back and start executing your pre-sale, your pre-enrollment period, because our centers pre-enroll students all the time. In fact, we had one center that just actually broke our record, which is incredible. So that pre-enrollment you're doing before you open your doors. So we teach you how to execute that and give you a complete roadmap for that. So the training is ongoing because it's seasonal, right? Sometimes camps are going to be a heavier time of year, so then we have more education and more coaching when it comes to camps during that season of camps. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Okay,
Wonderful.
Awesome. And then
awesome. Right,
one last question.
Okay, no, go ahead. Please go ahead.
Yeah,
go ahead.
One last one here. What is the minimum range between each Code Ninjas? If I were to open one up in my town, what would be the minimum range if somebody else wanted to open one up nearby?
So there's a couple of things with that. One, we don't sell markets just to sell them. They have to be viable and they have to be available. Viable means that there's internal and external matrices that have to be met. So we talked about typical franchises. Let's say they give you a 3-mile radius. We do 2 to 3 miles. Let's say I gave you a 3-mile radius. A typical franchise would say, okay, that's your protected radius. That's what you paid your franchise fee for. So therefore, that's where you do business. That's yours. And then they would sell another territory 3.2 miles away because it's outside your protected radius. Now, the territories are going to be overlapping one another, but that's how typical franchising works. We don't do it that way. We actually give you more space. So if you were granted a 3-mile radius, the nearest Code Ninjas to you, again, it would have to be a viable and an available market. Would have to be 6 miles away as the crow flies. Now, in some cases, if the data is like overwhelming and crazy, it could be 5.5 miles. But typically, it's anywhere from 5.5 to 6 miles away as the crow flies, as a straight line, not as drive time.
Okay.
So we don't want our territories overlapping and intermeshing with one another. We want to keep them separate. Right. And again, it has to be viable and available. We go by internal matrices just as external. So we have to see how you're performing internally. How are things going? What's happening with that market? What do we know about the market? Is there a mass exit happening? How's the economy in that market? We want to understand that market as well before it's approved. We also want to look and say, well, if the income isn't there, it's not going to be a viable market for us, and we're just not going to approve it. So it's not just about selling a territory. It's making sure that franchisee is set up for success.
Okay. And then, I'm sorry, I just sprung up one last question. It's a quick one. For the one-on-one time, would that have to, am I able to schedule that prior to the discovery day, or does that come
for sure.
post-discovery
day?
I
would want you to. I would want you to schedule time one-on-one on a phone call before discovery day. I would not want you coming to discovery day unless one of my team members and you have spoken one-on-one. Discovery day is by invitation only, and it's designed to have those attend that have done some work beforehand, not just show up because they saw us on the internet the week prior.
Okay. All right, awesome. Thank you very much.
All right, awesome. Thank you. Hi, you have a question?
Hi, my name is Camboose. You talked about the other learning centers. Is it possible for Code Ninja to blend the same area used with, like, say, Kumon or something else?
No, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
How about using other technology in the like a new technologies out there, like Kano, if I'm pronouncing it right? Like there is a carnal software or a computer?
Well, that would be more of a that would be more of a camp. Not that would so when you say when we look at technologies, when we look at whether it be augmented reality or artificial intelligence, those are more of a camp-based focused program, not ongoing curriculum. So the camps that we have, the 14 different camps that we offer, which from what I understand, what I've seen on the market is more camps than any other company offers. We have currently 14. Those are designed to introduce families into this world of coding and programming, and they're designed to take everyone deeper into the world of coding and programming on a certain skill set. So what you're talking about would be adding that to a camp, not necessarily adding it to our ongoing curriculum.
Okay. And another question, what Code Ninja is doing for advertising?
So and that's kind of a really loaded question. I mean, we do a lot for advertising. I would say that when it comes to what we do for advertising, our digital marketing strategies, our community engagement, when it comes to that part of it, we have to look at, obviously, where are you at, what market are you in, but we focus mostly on digital marketing strategies for our franchisees and community, and community engagement.
Okay. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Hi, you have a question?
Yes. Most of it has been answered by previous participants. Well, the questions have been asked by previous participants. One I do still have is what your vision for Code Ninja and where do you see it 5 years from now?
Well, being that we're just about to expand our program, we see Code Ninja as being a family coding center. We see Code Ninja as creating the market for a family coding center. When you talk about parent tech education nights, we just had Dads and Drones. We're creating, our franchisees are creating that market. They're creating the need inside their market. Obviously, we know that between articles from IBM and Microsoft and Apple and being on TV, I mean, they're all talking about the need for our younger generation to know how to code and to think like a coder. But they can't, the school systems, independents are not able to keep up. Code Ninjas has grown. It's thrived. We're continuing to thrive. I mean, year over year, we continue to grow at the same pace, which is astonishing and very validating. To continue to add to our offering based on our franchisee feedback really is allowing our franchisees to continue to create that market inside their market.
Okay.
So we're going to continue to grow. We're going to continue to grow in terms of our offering, in terms of our brand, in terms of our awareness. It's we have a long way to go to get to communities all over the U.S. that normally wouldn't have the opportunity to dig deep and to learn more in terms of coding and programming. And it's not even they're going to use it. They may not even use it. They could go off and be a professional soccer player. But the point is, the majority of the jobs in the future are going to require some sort of knowledge of coding and programming and technology. So let's align their skills for their future now so they're not behind.
What about your curriculum? Is that something that's fixed, or do you look at it every year or on a quarterly basis to figure out if something else needs to be
It's a living, breathing, growing monster. It's complete, but never. It's complete, but never finished.
Okay. And do you have anything around app building within your curriculum today?
Yes.
Creating apps.
Yes.
You do? Okay.
Yes.
All right. That's all that I had. Thank you.
Wonderful. All right. Well. All right. Thank you. Hi. You have a question?
Yes, hi, my name is Sanjay, and I have a question regarding the expansion. So at this point, I know you're focusing on North America and entering Europe. Where do you see yourself? Do you see yourself expanding beyond this to geographical region anytime soon?
100% has to do with the partnership. So when it comes to individuals, we look at the partnership before we look at anything else, how we can move together. It comes down to that partnership.
Okay, because I did speak with Gentleman Joe earlier this week. I think I'll reach out to you soon, and we have a potential to expand beyond these two geographical regions.
Yes.
And also have a quick question regarding the platform. So let's say students, you have students using your who's a student with a program, how can the parents see the progress? Do they have a platform where they can log in remotely and see what's going on?
Yes, it's called our parent portal.
Okay, very well. Thank you so much, sir. We'll reach out to you personally. And
yes, do that.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Hi, you have a question?
Hi, my name is Angela, and I have two quick questions. First one is, what are requirements to be considered a franchising?
Requirements, really, it's kind of a vetting. It's more of a vetting process. So it's making sure you're connecting with us one-on-one. Let's talk through what the opportunities are for you, looking at your market, looking at your opportunity within Code Ninjas. Are we a good fit together? That's a really good place to start.
Okay. And also, do y'all assist y'all franchises with marketing, or is this something they do on their own?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Do y'all assist each franchise with the marketing for their
Yes,
business,
we do. Yes.
or is this something they do? Okay. So, like, y'all handle all their social media accounts, or do they have the independence to handle their social media accounts?
So when it comes to social media, when it comes to digital marketing strategies, we're there for you with that. We have all those pathways forward. When it comes to social media, like Facebook and your account, we do parent-child through there. When it comes to, which means we update it on a regular basis, but then you can very much individualize it. So I think when you say social media, it's pretty big. We're talking about Yelp, we're talking about Google, we're talking about Facebook, Instagram, we're talking about Twitter. It's like all those different pieces. We have the marketing director with Code Ninjas was the digital marketing director of one of the largest franchises in the world for about 6 years. So he's very digital space and networking space, social media space is his expertise. So we have a whole segment at Discovery Day that we just talk about marketing, and we go over all different aspects of what we do and how we do it.
Okay. That's pretty much all of my questions.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you very much. Hi, you have a question?
Hi, this is Nirupam here. I have a question regarding the location. I am currently I live in Westford, Massachusetts. Can you tell me what are the things I should look at for finding a proper location for my school?
I would say the best thing for you to do, if you haven't already, is make sure you connect with one of my team members. If you haven't, send me an email, marty@codeninjas.com, and I will get you connected with one of them. But we work with you individually in making sure, one, let's look in your market, where to go in your market, and what kind of space to look for.
Yeah, sure. Okay, that will be great, because I'm seeing a couple of things here and there in my town. So my hometown will not be really something great. I am in great potential. Okay, I'll send you a mail as soon as I can. Okay.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, you have a question?
Hi there. I just have a question about student turnover. Do you have any statistics from your existing franchises?
Yeah, so right now we run it on average, we're at 8% month-over-month retention, which is incredible. So we obviously keep a high number of our students month-over-month.
Okay, what was that figure again, sorry?
8%.
8%.
Yeah. And if you look in the child enrichment space, you see a lot of 20%, 30%, 40%. Our average right now is 8%.
Okay.
Pretty exciting.
And
pretty validating,
hi.
actually. Hi.
Hi there. It's better half here. Hi. So, the future. Are you looking to broaden into teenagers and adults at all? Now it's obviously focused on elementary and middle schools.
Yes, of course. Yes. We're actually very, very close to releasing that program. I've kind of made some announcements on these calls. The official announcement on the release date of that program will be in about 2 weeks. And so that's a very exciting time, and that'll bring Code Ninjas to work with people all the way up to 100, and I like to say 104. Because after 104, you might as well just be eating bacon and drinking whiskey every day after 104. So I say that it's going to take us from 7 to 104.
Cool. And with the size of the office or the space that you have, with all of these programs that you're expanding into, is there a worry that we're going to need bigger space, or is it all going to be scheduled at different times, or?
Yeah. So and it all depends. I'm just kind of curious. Are you calling from the U.S. or Canada?
Yes, we're looking at Peachtree City in Atlanta.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So
we're actually from New Zealand, but.
Okay, yeah, I thought I heard something in there. So when it comes to the actual size of the space in the U.S. and Canada, we look for 1,600 to 2,200, 2,300 square feet, and that's going to give you a plenty of space. And being that you can take our camp-based curriculum and our workshop curriculum and go out into the workplace, or go out into the school system and see the community, it even frees your space up more and gives you more opportunity.
Yeah, sure. And last question. We have been business owners in the past, but never franchise owners, and never in this area. So can you tell me what are the common problems that new franchisees are coming across within your company, please?
Great question. So I've worked with, I mentioned this earlier, not out of arrogance, but just out of fact. I've worked with about 2,000, 2,500 franchisees in the last 15 years. There's something, if I could give anybody any advice in franchising, whether you decide to go with Code Ninjas or you decide to go buy a pizza shop, I don't really care what you go and decide to do. But when you look at franchising, you have a learning curve with inside franchising. If you've never been an entrepreneur before, that is going to be a different learning curve. If you've been an existing business owner before, like yourself, and now you're going to move on to being a part of a franchise, that also is going to have a little bit different of a learning curve. But bottom line is, and they all have their little challenges, but there's a learning curve in there. And so many times as entrepreneurs and an entrepreneurial spirit, and you're being creative, you want to inject your personal business acumen, your ideas, which are great. You want to inject all this energy that you have and the enthusiasm you have into your franchise, what your system, what you're going to do. And that actually can work against you because you're not through your learning curve yet. You have to get through your learning curve as a franchisee, no matter what brand it is. Get through that learning curve. Do you have the fundamentals down? Once you have the fundamentals down and you understand the root of your business and what your baseline is, what your bedrock is, once you have that, that's when you inject your personal business acumen, all your creative ideas, and your enthusiasm. And I can share with you that after working with franchisees for so many years, I see it in stages. They'll get excited and passionate about their carpet or how many computers they have or their signage or how beautiful their build-out is, and all that enthusiasm gets poured into that stage that they're in. And then they're going to get into their pre-opening stage where they're going to be enrolling students, and it's going to be a different type of enthusiasm than it's going to be when they open their doors for business. And if I can give you any advice, is get through that learning curve. Focus on the fundamentals of the franchise. What does a franchise do great? Match up with what they do great. Make sure you do it just as great. Learn from other franchisees. Collaborate with them. Understand what pitfalls that they faced and how you can miss those, or if you do face those, you can get through them faster. Get through that learning curve. It could be 3 weeks for somebody. It could be 3 months for somebody else. It could be 6 months for somebody else. But get through that learning curve. The only way you're going to know that you're through it and you're on the other side of it is if you understand the fundamentals of the franchise. You have them down. You know them. It's called unconscious competent. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to go back and look it up in a book. It's there for you. You know it. That's why a lot of our franchisees listen to these calls still, because a lot of the questions that come up and a lot of the things that come up, they question themselves. And so to get that unconscious competent role going on how you present Code Ninjas, how the revenue streams work, how you can really present the overwhelming value of what we do for the younger generation. Once you have that overwhelming value down to where you can say it in your sleep, that's when you know you've been through the learning curve, and now you're ready to start injecting your core principles, your business acumen, your enthusiasm, and injecting it into that culture. Take care of that first 100 families like your life depended upon it, and watch your business thrive from there. But if you treat that first 100 families just like a number, and you're like, oh, we're going to make mistakes, we'll make mistakes with some of those, and we'll just rifle through it. No, treat that first 100 families like gold, get through that learning curve, and you'll have a long-term sustaining business. But if we just kind of treat our students like a bucket with a hole in the bottom where they just come in and they leave, that's going to get higher retention numbers. You're going to devalue your experience, devalue your price, and you're going to start to second guess, what you're doing and what's going on. It could be a little too late. Sorry, I didn't mean to go off there, if that was helpful.
No, it's valuable advice. And that brings me to one quick question. I have been on a couple of calls before where there have been people asking about buying up multiple franchises, which makes me a little nervous because we would very much be a family-run business and be passionate about what we're doing. We love the concept and what you've done. It worries me that there are going to be people buying up, many, and it's just going to be very, you know what I mean?
Well, we only let individuals that first come aboard at Code Ninjas, you only can buy 2 at first. So when you become a Code Ninja franchisee, we only allow you to buy 2. Once you have come into our franchise and you have not necessarily proven to us, but proven to yourself that you can operate multiple locations or even your first location and you can do it well. A perfect example, there's a gentleman that I'm working with that's a franchisee, and he just, before he started his pre-sale, he really wanted to buy another location. But he was really wise about it. And he said, you know what? I need to see how my pre-sale is going to go first. He just broke the record in pre-sale. What do you think the email was to me a couple of days ago? Hey, I'd like to buy another location now. Right? That's what we like to see. Because he could have bought it, but he didn't prove to himself yet that he can do this. And then when he did it, he proved himself. And I said, dude, you're approved to do whatever you want to do. Right? So when we look at that, we're not trying to sell to a big, we had somebody be part of our system that is worth a very large some net worth, a company. They're an organization, and they wanted to buy 10, and we said they couldn't. They had to start with 2. And so when it comes to how we grow, we're not looking at selling to an organization to do 50 locations. Now, could there be somebody 10 years down the road that does that? Maybe. But we did this rule on purpose to say you only can buy 2 up front.
Okay, cool.
And that stops people from buying 100 territories as well.
Sure. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. All right, last question.
Hi, this is Padma. Most
Hi.
of my questions are answered, but I still have just one question.
Okay.
How do you, I do know you mentioned you had a LMS system where you track the kids' progress. So my question is, how do you associate their levels, right? It seems like you have 3 levels, beginner, intermediate, and advanced levels in your program. I'm talking about...
Well, hang on a sec. No, I'm sorry. You might be thinking of some different company. We have 9 different belts.
Okay.
Not 3. You might be thinking of a different company. Because we have 9 different belts, and within inside each belt are learned skills and concepts that the LMS, our GDP, game development platform, that they have to show their proficiency in.
Okay, so I'm on...
I'm not really sure where you got that from. I'm sorry.
It says Path of Enlightenment, beginner 1 year, intermediate 2 years, and advanced 4 years.
You're talking, so what you're talking about there is not our belt. So our belt program is, so you're looking at an overview. The LMS is tracked through the game development platform works with those 9 belts. You're talking about an overview of a program.
Yes, I get it. Yeah, you do have white belt to black belt.
9 different belts, and that's where the game development platform comes in. Yep.
That's right. So the first 4 4 belts fall into beginner bucket, and the next 4 belts fall into intermediate bucket, and the last belt, that's advanced black belt, falls into, final bucket.
Okay. So what's your question? I'm sorry.
So the question is, for any program, right? Like if you compared about this program with the math program, right? So in math program, when the kids joins, they will be associated, from level 1 or the grade 1 to grade 10th or grade 11th, grade 12th. That's how you associate their.
Oh, hello. Oh, okay. Well, looks like. I'm sorry. Looks like I may have dropped your call. Feel free to email me, Marty at codeninjas.com, and I'll definitely connect you with one of my team members. Sorry, I'm not sure what happened there. If you have any other questions that I wasn't able to get to, it looks like the Q&A has expired. So feel free to email me, Marty at codeninjas.com, and I'll do my very best to connect you with one of my team members and get your questions answered. Apologize for having to cut that short. I'm not sure what happened there. If you're interested in coming to a Discovery Day, feel free to reach out to me or one of my team members. We'll be more than happy to help you. And again, thanks for your time today. Really do appreciate it. And again, Marty Flanagan here with Code Ninjas, Vice President of Franchising. Feel free to email me anytime, Marty at codeninjas.com.